there's no technical definition of confidence. There's no psychometric definition. But confidence and self-esteem, which is also a very ill-defined phrase, they mostly load on trait neuroticism. So the two of the main personality traits are associated with emotion. So people who experience more positive emotion or have a lower threshold for positive emotion, those are extroverts. And people have a lower threshold for negative emotion. So that'd be anxiety, grief, shame, pain. There's more, but that's the basic cluster. They're more likely to experience negative emotion on a regular basis, plus their threshold for experiencing it is lower. It takes less to activate it. So confident people are lower in neuroticism. Now, you could also add some extroversion to that, right? So the typical person that you would experience as hyperconfident would be low in neuroticism, so very free of anxiety, for example, and somewhat high in extroversion because that makes them outgoing. So they're not anxious, they're not inhibited. Anxiety freezes you, right? So, and makes you wary, and it'll inhibit speech, for example. Extroverts are more fluent. So a confident person would be someone who's high in extroversion and low in neuroticism. Now, there's variance of that too. So you might experience a disagreeable person as more confident because a disagreeable person, that's another personality dimension. It's associated with femininity, as is neuroticism. A disagreeable person will tell you to go to hell. So you can have a quiet, disagreeable person who is pretty confident because they're going to say no to you if they're inclined to, and they'll tell you to go to hell when they feel it's necessary or maybe just randomly.
What was your disagreeability? Wasn't it?
It was extreme.
Low.
My disagreeability.
It was very low. I think I remember it.
Really.
So
we're going to put this
low
score.
in agreeableness?
Yeah. So he's feminine is what he's saying.
No.
No,
Low
that's the
agreeableness
opposite.
makes you masculine.
Yeah.
And you kind of look like that.
Oh.
Your face has got a...
I was agreeable. So.
Yeah, Jack was the
I was
agreeable
okay.
one.
All right. Well, we don't
I
need to
was-
go into agreeability.
I was the disagreeable one, but
and femininity.
Looks
But
like
that's why it worked so well between us. We
Yeah.
get along very well.
Well, disagreeable people
Yeah.
are skeptical, eh?
Yeah.
Their default position is like, yeah, I fucking doubt it,
Yeah.
right? So, and an agreeable person is something like anything you want, dear.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I'm not that agreeable.
the
Almost.
upside of being agreeableness, as I said, is a more feminine trait. And the reason that agreeableness, it's useful in, it's likely useful in intimate family situations. And so a good default stance towards infants is agreeableness, right? Because an infant between the ages of 0 and 9 months is always right. Like if an infant is in distress, your job as a caregiver is to attend to the infant, not to make value judgments, not to be skeptical. It's like, and that's partly because human infants are so, we're born early because of our head size. So a mammal of our size should have a gestation period of 2 years, not 9 months. So human infants are born prematurely in a sense. And so they're very helpless. And so it's necessary to be very agreeable in their care because they're obviously, especially before they can move, they're 100% dependent. Now, the problem with that is that being agreeable isn't the best thing for dealing with children as they mature. And it's certainly not the thing that you use to deal with, let's say, adult males or institutions. I mean, one of the things that's pathologizing the world at the moment is the proclivity of women to use agreeableness as their default rule of moral presumption in situations where it's completely inappropriate. Disagreeable managers are more successful than agreeable managers because they can't be taken advantage of. That's the problem with being agreeable. Then also it generates resentment because if you're agreeable and you are pouring yourself out in others' care constantly, then it's easy to feel that you're not being appreciated properly. And perhaps you're not necessarily that good at bargaining on your own behalf. Now, if you're disagreeable, you can also be a complete son of a, it's like, all of the personality dimensions have their pathologies especially at the extremes. And you can't say one is better than the other. If you're a sophisticated actor, what you do with your personality over time is you expand its range so that you can match your behavior to the demands of the current situation. So disagreeable people, they are they tend to say no. They're very skeptical, so they can miss opportunities. They're suspicious of people. And, that's real useful if the person you're suspicious of is a bad actor. But it's not that helpful if the person isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay a price. You pay a price for everything you have,
Yeah.
right? It's in one way or another.